man, it's going to be somewhat of a bittersweet day for a lot of us boxing fans, man, as Miguel Cotto wraps up a 16-year career as he faces Saddam Ali at the Mecca, Madison Square Garden, live on HBO. So, I just wanted to make this video, man, because I thought it was only right, being that next year, man, for a lot of you that have been following me all this time on YouTube talking boxing, man, I'm hitting my 10-year threshold starting next year, man. I had this YouTube on and off, obviously, you know, been having down times here and there, you know, becoming a dad and things of that nature, and then, you know, the music and work, you know, it gets, you know, it's tough to, like, make videos consistently, but these live videos give me some time to, like, you know, whether I'm in the whip, right before a session, whatever, just to talk boxing. But yeah, man, I'm hitting my 10-year threshold next year, and one of the first fights, if not, I think the first fight that I spoke of, or gave a prediction about, or talked about, was in 2008, just before Cotto versus Margarito 1, which happened in July 2008. YouTube deleted the video, as many of my videos from 2008, well, really 2008, a little bit of 2009, I don't know why, but you know, Miguel Cotto, for me, man, and this goes beyond you know, the YouTube videos, you know, when I initially started, I've been following Cotto's career, about 90% of his career, starting from around like mid-2002, where I would see him on ESPN Friday Night Fights. I would see him on some of the Telemundo telecasts when he was like really young, man, like 4 or 5 fights in. And early on, man, you just saw little things that led you to believe that this could be Puerto Rico's next heir apparent, because whether it was from Benitez to Gomez to Trinidad, there's a lineage that follows Puerto Rican boxing. Same thing with Mexico. And Cotto was that guy that we thought, you know, me being half Puerto Rican, you know, we kept our eye on him, you know. And little by little, he started to show us. I mean, he passed the eye test, but I think it was, I know for a fact it was the Ricardo Torres fight. And myself and you know, my GYGB member Coltrane, I mean, he brought this up. As far as that being the fight that really showed what Cotto was made of. Because at that point, we didn't know. You know, he passed the eye test, but what happened when he got hurt, when he was under adversity, and he showed it, man. Stopping Ricardo Torres after being dropped and hurt really bad. So from that point, man, Cotto went on the fight Chop Chop, where he got hurt and he stopped, you know, Chop Chop late, or, you know, midway through the fight. Little by little, man, we started to see Cotto in these matchups, and I think the Zab Judah fight was the fight. 20,000, I think, were in that arena. His first pay-per-view headlining fight, and he put on a hell of a show. I mean, Zab too. Zab hurts Cotto early. Zab throws that, or Cotto throws that low blow to kind of, you know, hold off some time, man, which is a veteran move, man. If you telling me that some of these other high-level veterans haven't thrown some sneaky shots to, you know, let time pass, man, go back and do some history. So, any case, man, Cotto from the Judah fight to the Mosley fight, he was at that point, man. I mean, when people are talking, you know, for the better part of 6, 7, or 5 years before the fight happened, Mayweather-Pacquiao was the talk, right? Before then, it was Mayweather-Cotto. For a lot of us that were following the sport pre-2010, Mayweather-Cotto was that premier fight, but Cotto had a mountain to climb over in that of Antonio Margarito. And we all saw what happened in that fight, which really changed the path of Cotto's career from that point on. So, his career has really been, I guess, described in a way of pre and post Margarito 1. Because, and you know what, it's a fair assessment, because so much changed with Cotto before or following that fight as it related to his mental game, as well as his preparation for a fight. didn't look like the same Cotto. And I don't think he got any of that really back as far as like his mental game being like on point is after he fought Margarito again. He didn't look like the same guy, and by that point he physically wasn't the same Cotto that we saw at 140 go into 147 pounds, but he was still a game fighter. And he went on to he went on to junior middleweight, and he fought, he ended up getting the Mayweather fight after the Margarito rematch. One of Floyd's toughest fights. People talk about the Castillo fight, a fight I still think to this day Castillo won. But outside of that, man, I think Cotto, for the long stretch of that fight, gave Floyd, I think, probably his second toughest fight. And this is a Floyd that was much more experienced. Granted, wasn't in his prime himself, but I think both of those guys, man, if they fought 10 times, 9 out of those 10 fights would probably look like what we saw when they fought anyway. So Cotto loses that fight. He loses to Austin Trout. You think at that point it's over and done with. He calls Freddie Roach up, lands himself in some very winnable fights. Even the Sergio Martinez middleweight lineal title fight, I was one of few people that told people I think Cotto might stop Sergio Martinez because I knew what was going on with Sergio's knee at the time and things of that matter. But he makes history becoming the fourth or the only Puerto Rican to win 4 division world titles. So historically, he really cements himself in the Hall of Fame at that point. Lands the Canelo fight the year after, a fight that going in, Canelo was a favorite, but Cotto was a cagey veteran, could cause problems for Canelo, and though he made a good account for himself, the younger, bigger, stronger guy was the victor. And I had no issues about that. I mean, when Freddie says he thought Cotto won, I don't know about that. But I think now, this being his swan song, some people bitch, like, this is a shitty fight for him, on his way out. Cotto's deserved of a fight like this, man. I mean, myself and Coltrane were talking about it on the show. You can go to soundcloud.com/GYGB for our latest episodes. You're very hard pressed to find a welterweight that had the names like Carlos Quintana, Zab Judah, Shane Mosley, Joshua Clottey, Antonio Margarito, and Manny Pacquiao in the span of 2 years, man. In the span of 2 years, he fought all those welterweights. So it's not as such that Cotto's never fought anybody, man. I mean, he's fought the best of the best. Granted, he didn't fight a Charlo or Erislandy Lara or a Triple G, but is that going to really hurt his career? No, man. I think with Cotto and this fight with Saddam Ali, this is a clear-cut case of it being his goodbye fight, man. Under the big lights of Madison Square Garden, where he became a superstar, So for me, man, I salute Miguel Cotto. I mean, he was a hell of a fighter. Never was in a dull fight. Win or lose, he gave it his all, man. And never was a guy with excuses. And even with the whole Margarito fight, man, as much as we were for years before they fought again saying, Margarito cheated, he never said a word, man. And even, he believes that, Margarito very likely cheated, but he doesn't it's not something that you hear in his narrative every single interview. He's like, it is what it is, yo. Like, nothing I can do about it at this point. So he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, in my opinion, though with all the guys that retired this year, Cotto being a first ballot, if he doesn't get over on Klitschko or Bernard Hopkins, or who else retired this year, Andre Ward, whether it's the 5th or the 6th year, he's going to get in, man. I mean, I don't think there's any question about it. And I'll be honest with you, I'm going to be at that Hall of Fame ceremony, man, because to me, I think he was one of the best ambassadors of the sport. When you think of guys that in this day and age that they're trying to take the easy way to get a title, to get money, and at that point, you're good. Cotto went through the trenches to to get where he got, man, to get where he's at today. To fight guys that these guys today being given the same situation, opportunity, they would have never fought a Margarito. They would have never fought a Joshua Clottey. You know what I'm saying? Like, or took a catch weight to fight Manny Pacquiao in his peak. You know, just things like that people don't take into account, man. So I salute Miguel Cotto, man. One of the greatest Puerto Rican fighters that ever lived. One of the great fighters of this era. And I hope he enjoys retirement, man. I mean, he's got nothing else to prove. I don't think he'll come back. You know, when you look at that special and you look at just how much his family, like, really affected him being the professional he was, but just what he missed during the time of him being Miguel Cotto, the fighter. You know, for people who, you know, such as myself, who are parents, you know, you may not understand that, but like, to miss things like birthdays, to miss graduations, to miss like important key moments in like your kid's life, I mean, you'll never get that back. You know, and like me being a parent, like, I understand it. You know, so that's why for me, man, like, I salute the guy, and I think he's genuine when he says he's going to be retired, or he's going to stay retired. And on top of that, he's got nothing to prove, man. He really has nothing else to prove. So that is my salute to Miguel Cotto, man. This Saturday, tomorrow, as I'm making this video, live on HBO, the final hurrah of the great Puerto Rican champions. So that is pretty much it, man. We're going to be talking about the fight, obviously, this week on the show, as well as Guillermo Rigondeaux, Vasily Lomachenko next Saturday. We're going to be giving our predictions. I'm going to be making a prediction video this weekend, so stay tuned for that. And like I always say, man, follow us at Guard Your Grill Boxing on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook.com/GYG Boxing. That's pretty much it, man. Until next time, I'm out of here. Peace.